I'm gonna tell you something. And this isn't super exciting, but it is important because you need to know this stuff if you ever plan to purchase real property in the state of Florida. Today, we're gonna talk about the 4 main ways of taking title, and each one's a little bit different, and it's important that you know the differences. So the first way of taking title is just sole ownership. That simply means that you own the property and nobody else does. Now, in this form of ownership, it doesn't have any provisions for what happens to the property if something happens to you. So if you pass away, the property will likely go into probate unless you have a will or some sort of other estate planning directive in place. The second way of taking title is what's called tenancy in common. And this is where you have 2 or more people holding title to portions of a property, and those portions can be equal or unequal. And when something happens to one of the owners, their portion of the property passes directly to their heirs. So this is helpful and helps avoid probate. With tenancy in common, we say it has no right of survivorship attached to it because that portion of the property that was belonging to the person who passed away does not pass to the other owners of the property, which would be a right of survivorship. Unlike tenancy in common, we have our third way of taking title, and that's called joint tenancy with right of survivorship. There's that survivorship word we just talked about. Now, in this form of ownership, you have 2 or more people owning a property, and each person has an equal interest in the property. If something happens to one of those owners, their portion of that property passes directly to the other owners, not to the heirs. That's where the right of survivorship kicks in. And the fourth way of taking title is a special one in the state of Florida, and it's called tenancy by the entireties. Now, this is reserved specifically for married couples in the state of Florida, and the law looks at their ownership of the property as one entity owning the property. That means that if one spouse passes away, nothing really happens. The other spouse continues to retain full ownership of the property because remember, the law was looking at these 2 people as just one entity. So that also helps to avoid probate or any issues like that. If one spouse passes away, the other spouse continues to own the entirety of the property, thus tenancy by the entireties. So I know it wasn't super exciting, but it is important because you need to know what happens to your property if something happens to you.